Next item is item 44, is to consider a report on community TV merger plans and budget. We have a letter of the Director of Information Services dated January 15th, 2013, and a letter of the Interim Executive Director of CTV and the Executive Director of CMAP. And good morning, Mr. Bowling.
Good morning, Supervisors. Kevin Bowling, Director of Information Services. I just have a couple of comments to make, and then I'll turn the rest of it over to Lynn. We continue to work with Lynn Miller at Community TV to prepare for the changes that will face them once we lose the local cable franchises. There's been some recent changes that give us more confidence that Community TV actually has a path forward. Our local cable franchise, will go away at the end of June 2014. At that point, PEG funding will not be allowed to be used for operating expenses by them. In addition, our current contract with Community TV is up for renewal at the end of June this year. Rather than just do a one-year renewal on the contract and let Community TV continue to work their transition plan through the end of June 2014, we've asked them to bring the time frame forward to the end of June 2013. We'd like to negotiate a new contract with Community TV to take effect in July. Before we do that, we need to see Community TV escalate their transition to a post-DIVCA environment earlier. This will require some escalated changes in staffing and technology to better enable for a post-DIVCA world. We believe that Community TV will return in March with a plan that will bring forward the timeline. We expect that they will start the transition before the end of the current fiscal year. Both Lynn Miller and Kathy Bisbee are here and will give you more information as well as answer any questions. In conclusion, we're recommending to have us enter negotiations of a new contract to take effect July 2013, have the Community TV begin to develop their transition plan to post-DIVCA environment, have Community TV return to the board in March this year with their post-DIVCA transition proposal and budget. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Lynn Miller.
Good morning, Mr. Miller.
Morning. Thank you, Board. My name is Lynn Miller, and I'm the Interim Executive Director for CTV, and I'm here this morning with Keith Goodger, our Board Chair, and other Board members, and Kathy Bisbee from CMAP. There are 3 additional items that are not on your letter that I would just like to draw your attention to. One is that the CTV board, in reviewing our future, had intended to have a reserve at the end of this fiscal year to help us move forward into DIVCA. We had cut one 8-hour-a-week position and one 32-hour-a-week position, and we had also cut administrative costs. However, in reviewing our relationship with CMAP and seeing the need to invest in a more active and engaged relationship with them, we have taken that money that would have been a savings and made it into a contract with CMAP to help us get through the next few months to get to you a proposal that makes perfect sense around DIVCA. In addition to that, CTV and CMAP have entered into discussions with Karen Delaney from the Volunteer Services to work with us to productively utilize volunteers and AmeriCorps in our future with CTV and CMAP. And finally, we have been working actively with Cabrillo College to see if we can open up ways to be creative in our training, in our education, that will produce an economically efficient and productive collaborative in our approach to the community and CTV. And with that, I'll turn the time over to Kathy Bisbee, who has more information around the transition. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. So I've been working with CTV for about 3 months now, and I think I've really seen a real interest and intention, but also action to move forward to prepare for this very challenging reality of DIVCA. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of an idea of what some of the things that we have had in our minds as truths as we're moving forward through this transition. So I think it's important to know that this is not a retooling. This is not buying new technology and simply retooling it. It's actually really a rebuilding of a new organization in response to the realities and requirements of DIVCA. And And as CTV's consultant, I have been researching, inquiring, logging internal processes, technology, and personnel for the past 3 months. And based on my experience, I have determined that CTV as an organization really must be re-envisioned. And we're not alone. This is happening in media centers all over the country. I serve on the national board of the Alliance for Community Media, and we've been working with quite a few organizations all over the country who have had to go through this process. But our situation is pretty unique. Right now, this organization is not prepared to meet the DIVCA realities and the requirements under DIVCA, as you may know. There are a number of major technology, operations, and personnel infrastructure changes that need to be made in order to prepare them for DIVCA. Some of these include, but aren't limited to, efficiency, streamlining organizational efficiencies and growing internal capacity for new operating realities through both technology and personnel changes. For example, a new broadcast server, automated tech tools, and a new location that can be better managed by 1 or 2 staff members is essential for CTV to successfully make this transition. Secondly, a business plan and fund development, determining cost-benefit analysis for fee-based public access, educational, government, and media production services, and developing a donor base. And lastly, internal policy work, rewriting bylaws to accommodate new services, developing job descriptions for the new structure, policies for use of PEG equipment and resources under the new realities of DIVCA. So I won't go into those in depth, but I wanted you to understand that these are really 3 very big bodies of work that we're going to be undertaking as part of this transition. And I have 8 hours a week to support the work, but I have full confidence in Lynn and the board and the staff that we can do this transition together. It's really important for me to express to you that this is a unique situation. I have looked all over the country, and there is no one in our exact same shoes. There are similarities that we can draw from. But other media centers have actually closed down up to a year to accommodate this transition under DIVCA-like laws, to rebuild their organizations, explore new services, and move away from PEG fee dependency. This has taken Denver, for example, one of the foremost community media innovators, nearly 5 years to successfully make this transition. And that was with an umbrella organization that had been established 10 years prior and had funds to invest in coming up with this new transition and this new organization. And their organization today looks like a very different media center than it was 10 years ago. While this transition will be very difficult, we feel that we could take a minimum of 6 months to rebuild this foundation through moving the organization to a new facility, which is a big job in itself, implementing these 3 major changes I mentioned while continuing to provide baseline operations, essentially government meeting coverage in the interim period. My organization, CMAP, moved this year and purchased a brand new broadcast server. We did that in about 12 months, and we're still working on it. We're still in transition. We've had to modify our public access services in order to accomplish that transition. We're continuously struggling to balance the operational requirements under our agreements with municipalities and under DIVCA with the media and public access needs of the community. It is challenging, but we are moving forward towards that DIVCA reality. There are inherent risks, challenges, and some experimentation involved. We're not the only organizations that are going through that, and I think we can draw a lot of strength from our colleagues and learn from their experiences. But it does require an investment on our part during the transition period. So in closing, I'm committed to assisting CTV through this transition. My board of directors have been very supportive so far. I think they see the value of us joining forces. There are benefits to us as a region to be long-term sustainable in community media services, but we're going to really need to use all the strengths and the resources and the value and the expertise to do this work. Our intention is to continue the tradition of community access to the media tools of CTV while exploring this long-term sustainability of the organization and our own under DIVCA. So I have prepared a little chart here for you very quickly, which gives you an idea, and it's in your packet, of the transition. And this column here is the transition to baseline, what tasks actually, in a very broad view, have to be done in order to even move us to a transition place where we can go into baseline operation. The second step would be task under baseline operations. And the third column is really what I like to call post-apocalypse, because that's kind of where we're at. This is what other stations are doing, some of the things that they're doing, some of the things they have not tried. So this gives you just a really, I hope, a basic understanding of what this transition could look like. When we come back in March, Lynn and I and the Board of Directors will have a more fleshed out proposal with specific timelines in place and what it's going to take for us to actually make it through this transition. We estimate it will take us the next year and probably then some. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for that good report on this item. Before we go to public comment, I wanted to see if there's any questions from the board. Supervisor Leopold.
Thank you, Chair. I just had, I'll have some comments later, but I just had one question about something that Ms. Bisbee said. You mentioned that CMAP has recently purchased a new broadcast server, and I made an assumption reading the material that you submitted that you saw CTV also purchasing a broadcast server. Is that really required if these two are merged?
It's not a question of whether or not we need it if we're merged. It really is, from my view, what needs to happen in order to create efficiencies at CTV. So whether CMAP was involved or not, as their consultant, I would recommend that they move to a new broadcast server. The server they currently have is kludged together, it's pieced together. It's not functional. The staff are very concerned about it going down, which you don't want to happen with all of the channels and our reliance upon them. So in order to transition effectively, or even to continue doing business as they're doing it, they would need to purchase a new broadcast server. Now, there's an added efficiency to having the same broadcast server being managed by fewer staff. And the new broadcast servers are more automated, so you'd be able to have members actually submitting content over the net or over an internal network so that you have staff freed up to do other things.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I'll turn to public comment. Is there anybody from the public who would like to comment on this item? Now's your chance. Ms. Garrett.
I'd like to thank Community TV for their important role in all the work in this county and the programming that they present and broadcasting these public meetings. It's the station that I watch the most when I watch TV is Community TV. And I heard the word transition a lot. What I'd like to see transitioned or moved is money that, I'm a retired teacher and I keep thinking of that bumper sticker of it'll be a great day when the schools have all the money they need and the Air Force has to have a bake sale to buy a bomber. It'll be a great day when social services, community TV, parks, et cetera, have all the money they need, and the military budget doesn't siphon out the money that is needed for that because it's over half of the taxes in this country go to war and killing people and the military-industrial complex. I would, whenever I hear efficiency or transition, I always have a critical eye to that. What does that actually mean? I like community TV as it is. And I think we need to continue funding it. And I would request that when presentations are made here, that acronyms not be, I know CTV is community TV and they refer to community TV, but for the public, for me, for everyone, what is CMAP, what is the other acronyms used, and what do they refer to in meaning, so there's some clarity. So I just want to say my heartfelt gratitude for community TV. This is needed all over in a democracy, that people be well-informed and have stations such as community TV. And let's do what we can to see that finances go to where it's needed for the public health and well-being and community projects and what we need for our Santa Cruz County and elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll just note that CMAP stands for Community Media Access Partnership. Anybody else that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for discussion and action. Yes, Supervisor Leopold.
Thank you, Chair. You know, in the past 18 months, I think that this has been before our board. I appreciate the distance that the Community Television Board and staff has had to travel to get to this place. I believe that community television is completely committed to public access, ensuring that we have a strong democracy and can express it through the public access stations. Our board is not choosing to make major financial changes to community television. It is the state that has changed the rules on local communities like ours who have had a franchise agreement with our cable provider that has allowed us to have lower rates and provide fees that allowed community television to operate and provide staffing. With a change made by the legislature in 2006, we are losing that right in 2014, and the money that comes from cable providers now will almost exclusively go to capital expenditure instead of staffing. This is their attempt to try to limit the reach of community television and public access across the state of California. And we're challenged with trying to figure out a new model for being able to present that public access in a budget reality that will be changed as of July 1st, 2014. I think that this is a day maybe for celebrating the Trinity, because earlier we celebrated the Trinity of the county, the Live Oak School District, and the Boys and Girls Club on the Youth Center, and now we get to celebrate the Trinity of the county, community television, and CMAP, trying to preserve our public access. The future will look different than what we've been accustomed to with community TV. There will be fewer people paid on the staff. There will be a new studio of some kind that will be smaller and be managed by fewer people. I'm hopeful that this new technology also provides new opportunities for people to submit content and be part of a dynamic change in the way public access is being presented across the country. I think we have good leadership in the Community Television Board. I'm proud that Kathy Bisbee, a leader at CMAP, is also a First District resident and a former employee at Community Television, so she understands it well. And I know that our Information Services Director, Kevin Bowling, is completely committed to ensuring that the public has access to the airwaves and has cable access, and has been working very hard on a number of fronts to ensure that digital technology is available to all, not just to some. So I'm prepared to move the recommendations that is here, to accept and file the report, to direct them to report back on March 19th, and direct Information Services to enter into negotiation with Community TV.
So we have a motion by Supervisor Leopold to accept the recommendations on page 250. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Supervisor Friend. Is there any further comment or discussion, Supervisor Friend?
Well, Supervisor Leopold, it's important to note that Lynn Miller is a 2nd District resident. Has been showing great leadership on this issue.
No doubt about it. Too bad he's short term.
Yeah. Other than that, no additional comment. Thank you.
And I'll note that CTV is in the 3rd District, so. Any further comment? Community TV is a very, very important part of our community, and this is very difficult circumstances that were forced onto us by the state, and I commend everybody that sat down and worked this through and figured this out so that we can continue community TV. It's going to be painful at times, it's going to be confusing at times, there'll be a reduction in services, but our ultimate goal is to have a strong, viable community TV. So I think that we're moving in the right direction. I appreciate all the efforts by Mr. Bowling, Ms. Bisbee, and Mr. Miller. So with that, I'll call a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.